Didn't really bother doing one of these for November because all I read was Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit, and what is there that I could say about the work of J.R.R. Tolkien that has not already been said before? So, what did I do for the month of December in terms of reading? First up, the book that we read for the book club at my local library is Nothing to See Here by Kevin Wilson. This book had a really interesting premise. Basically, our main character is hired by an old friend of hers who is filthy stinking rich now, married to a senator, and our main character has been hired to look after the stepchildren. However, the stepchildren, of which they are twins, have this funny little quirk where they catch fire. They can just spontaneously combust. If their emotions run too high, if they get a little too worked up, they just light on fire. So it is our main character's responsibility to watch after these kids, try to make sure they don't catch on fire, and hopefully teach them to control the fire so that they are able to live in society without arson. Overall, I liked it for the most part. I think there must have been something that just didn't jive with me personally. Whenever I was looking up opinions of the book online, I saw a lot of people saying that it was a really funny book, and I think that the premise is funny, but while reading it, I didn't get humor very much from it. There are a lot of things where it's actually very depressing and dark that I don't want to spoil too much, but there are a lot of moments throughout here where I just kind of thought, that's rough. It kind of had this overarching theme of whenever parents who are in a position of power and public figures, and sometimes just parents in general, there's something with their children that they are embarrassed of, that they think needs to be controlled or fixed in some way. Just want to change them and hide them from society. And that kind of came across a lot in this book, especially with their father being a political figure in a position of power, where he doesn't come across as a kind of character who actually wants to help his kids for the sake of, I want you to have a good life and be able to function in society. It's, I need you to not be who you are so that my political career doesn't get damaged. And that's one of those dark aspects. Overall, I think it is well written. One of the things that really stuck out to me was, as mentioned, the kids who can combust, they're twins. They didn't need to be twins. I don't think they needed to be twins at all. They are Bessie and Roland. Roland, to me, was just kind of like a non-character. I feel like he could be written out of the story and nothing would change. And that might be where some people got humor from the book, because Roland is like a comic relief type character. Like, oh, he's funny, he's chaotic, he's a little mischief maker. I didn't find many of his antics funny. They just kind of annoyed me a bit. But mileage may vary on that. That's just a me thing. So that was the first book I read this month. So first up for the nonfiction, I read, or rather listened to, I got the audiobook for this one that I listened to while I was doing other things, was Why Buddhism is True. This was basically just the author's research and experimentation with Zen Buddhism, going to meditation retreats, and then kind of taking what he learned about Zen Buddhism without the spirituality aspect and mostly just the mindful meditation aspect of everything and how it lines up with psychology and what we know of human behavior and human psychology. And basically the findings that he found, a lot of the teachings of Zen Buddhism, mindfulness meditation, pretty freaking good for you. I've started a meditation routine thanks to the book itself. And is it a placebo? Is it actually helping me with things? I don't know. But yeah, it's a really interesting read. Highly recommend that if you have ever wanted to look into, Buddhism, meditation, potential benefits of it. Pretty interesting read. Highly recommend that. Also read Quiet, The Power of Introverts in a World That Won't Stop Talking. If you're watching this channel, I'm willing to bet you're probably an introvert. Can you not play with those wires, bud? look in the camera and tell them how bad you've been. Where was I? And this book just kind of goes into the differences between introverts and extroverts and how our society really is more geared towards extroverts and how it really is more built for extroverts and how it kind of leaves introverts behind, like how in school systems, for example, class participation being part of a grade, while introverts are much less likely to participate in class. Not that they're not paying attention, not that they're not absorbing any of the information from the class, just the fact that they're not being a part of active discussions is being knocked against them, and then also group projects and how that might be more difficult for introverts. And it was just a really neat look into all that, but then it also spent a significant portion talking about the strengths of introverts and how so many successful and necessary people throughout the history of our society have been introverts that have done really great, amazing things. And also just some encouragement and some ways that if you yourself are introverted, can use your unique abilities as an introvert to better your own life and become a happier person in your introversion. Next up, we got Brigands and Bread Knives. I already have a full video on that one. I will try to link it somewhere. I really like this. It is the third book by Travis Baldree. And takes place in the same universe as Legends and Lattes, which I've also talked about. I'll try not to talk too much about it here because I got a full video on that over there. It is a pretty heavy departure from the rest of the Legends and Lattes books. Those ones are much cozier, take place in one location, really fun character work, character development, and just feel like a nice, cozy, warm hug. But Brigands and Bread Knives is much different in terms of vibe because we actually go out on a quest. We got adventure. We've got combat. We got people getting stabbed. Stabbings in my cozy fantasy? Couldn't be. But he did. He did it for us. If you like cozy fantasy, it's a bit of a toss-up if you'll enjoy this or not, because again, it still has the cozy fantasy feel, just because between all of the little action set pieces, we get a good wide berth of those cozy settings in between, where we get the nice conversations, really nice character interactions that really show growth, and some hard conversations sometimes. It is a very good book, but if you're looking for like the very cozy fantasy, might not be too into it. Probably go more for Legends and Lattes or Bookshops and Bone Dust for that one. Also read a book called Moonshine. I went to a distillery recently where they had books, and I saw one called Moonshine that takes place in 1932, where the story is about two moonshiners, a father and son. The son had just turned 13 and is helping his father out with their little moonshine business. And they essentially get caught up in this much larger conspiracy where the basically gang members, like a rival gang to Al Capone, is trying to get the moonshine from them. So it's like, we want you to be our exclusive seller and you'll be under our thumb because we're mafia. And I think this book was really well written in regards to the actual moonshine business. It can teach you a few things about the actual distilling process of whiskey and is a pretty good time. One of the really fun aspects of it is that the main character, Cub, has basically been homeschooled his whole life up until 13, until eventually, to kind of seem more like a normal family, he is sent to school and he is made to feel like a complete and absolute outsider, even though he's been like already working in business. The other kids see him as slow and stupid and just this weird kid, even though there's a real fun scene where the teacher gives them all a math lesson, but, you know, he's been helping his dad with moonshine and counting bottles and doing math the whole time. So he's a real whiz with numbers. So they're asked a math question and he just kind of gets it like that. just by thinking about it in terms of moonshine bottles. That was just kind of funny because the teacher was like, you need to show how you got the answer. And he's just kind of like, I just knew it, which was that's just fun. It's really well paced. I liked it a lot. It's one of those more like thriller type books where, you know, we've got this suspense happening of we got the mafia going after our main characters. We got the police going after our main characters. How are we going to solve this problem? It's a pretty good read. I had a few issues here and there. Some of the stuff just didn't really make a whole lot of sense to me. Like the initial inciting incident seemed a bit weird to me just because of knowing Cub's upbringing. Because Cub has like only known this life of being a moonshiner since he was born. Like he hasn't interacted with a lot of people. He hasn't been like a part of society. Like all he knows is the moonshining business. But one day the sheriff shows up and like makes it very clear that he knows that they're moonshining and that like, hey, you guys should stop it. Would hate to arrest you. Bye. And then Cub is like, oh no, we're gonna get arrested and all this is gonna happen. And the dad is like, we'll be fine. Don't worry, we'll be fine. We've been doing this for a long time. We'll be fine. We've been fine. We'll be fine. And then just that one instance causes Cub to be like, we're shutting this down. We're not moonshining anymore. We are getting out of this life and doing something else. And I just thought that was a little bit far-fetched just because, you know, this is all he's known. So it just felt so weird to me that he would just kind of turn on a dime like that so fast when this has been his whole life. That was probably my biggest issue, just the inciting incident of it all, of, you know, the sheriff shows up, you'll be arrested, and then, well, we're quitting. That was just weird to me. The last book I read was How to Defeat a Demon King in 10 Easy Steps. Got a full video coming up of this one here before too terribly long. I loved this book. The full video on this is basically just me raving about it because it is so much fun. The world is basically a combination of Legend of Zelda and Dragon Quest, and I love both of those things. And it's kind of a satire parody on the video game genres of like adventure fantasy and RPGs. Like they are literally in a video game. They level up, they get skill points, and our main character is functionally an NPC who decides to take it upon herself to go and slay the Demon King because the hero of the game has not yet been born. So instead of waiting for a hero, she decides to become the hero. And since she doesn't have any of the skills or abilities of the hero class, she has to think of creative ways to circumvent all the problems that the game presents that are designed for a hero. And the creativity of it all is so much fun. The determination of the main character is inspiring because it just really inspires you to be like, yeah, I'm going to take it. I'm going to take hold of what I have and have some agency in my life. Let's do this. It's very fun. And that's what all I've read this month. What I got going up next month, I'm in the middle right now of reading a book called Mindset, which is, it's a book that's talking all about a fixed mindset versus a growth mindset, which is kind of like a concept in psychology of a fixed mindset is basically thinking that you are who you are and that can't really change, like thinking that your intelligence is just a fixed part of you and you can't change it that much, that your personality is a fixed part of you and can't change very much, that your skills are a fixed part of you and can't change very much. That's like a fixed mindset. But a growth mindset is saying, I can't do this now, but I know that with enough practice, I will be able to do it. It is the belief and mindset that you can do anything really that you want to do, given the time and effort that you put into it, and just the ability to believe that you can change, whether it be any kind of personality change you might want, any kind of skill set change you might want. That's a growth mindset, which kind of goes into neuroplasticity a lot in the brain. Basically, our brains are constantly reconstructing and forming new neurons. And if you take advantage of that, you can kind of rewire your brain to have the skills that you want to have. It takes time and effort, but you can. And I like to think that I personally have a growth mindset, but there's always pitfalls. There's always room for improvement. So I've been reading this book to kind of make sure that I keep that cultivated and make sure I keep my mind open to willingness to grow in different aspects. But beyond that, I'm going to hop on over to that wall over there of my TBR books and pick out some new things to read for the month, and we'll see what I pick out. So, just a few things that I want to read this month outside of the mindset book. This one just looked like fun. Sword and Thistle. Seemed like a fun one. Just a quick read of the back of the book. It's about an adventurer who he's just kind of getting old for this, And what did it say? Yeah. With age comes wisdom for an experienced adventurer. It also comes with back pain. Yeah, I will sometimes just see a book, am I judging books by the cover? Yes. But that's what the cover's there for. And I also like to go into books as blind as possible sometimes. This just seemed like a good little adventure. I like a good little adventure. Speaking of things that I will get sometimes just based on the title and the cover, because I'll see something that looks and sounds interesting and I will just get it. Monster Therapist. An adventurer who retires and becomes a counselor for magical creatures. I don't know what the plot's going to be. It could be a slice of life where each chapter is just doing therapy with a new monster, and I'm hooked. That sounds fun. And a new book by Brandon Sanderson, Crest of the Emerald Sea, which really I just kind of picked up because, new Brandon Sanderson book. I've only really read Brandon Sanderson in regards to his work on Wheel of Time. Outside of Wheel of Time, I have not actually read anything written by Brandon Sanderson. I am planning on it. However, thanks to Wheel of Time, I want to avoid series for a while and just read some standalone books, but I still wanted to read more Brandon Sanderson, so I found one that's just its own little standalone. And that's why I'm reading that. And that's really what I got planned for my reading in January to start off the new year. Hopefully some fun fantasy novels. But that's what I've been reading, and that's what I am planning on reading. Let me know what you've been reading recently in the comments below, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.